Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is at Origins Game Fair, and I get a chance to speak with the Sadler brothers about their new game Alter Quest, which is on Kickstarter right now. About 2 more weeks to get in on that. A little bit about Brook City, their latest Kickstarter hit, and maybe a little about Street Masters prior to that. So, gentlemen, let's start out with Alter Quest, your current Kickstarter. Tell us just a little bit about why it is the most amazing game you've ever made.
It is the most recent game we've ever made for sure, and that makes it the most amazing. So Alter Quest is it's a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, fantasy adventure dungeon crawl board game. We wanted to design a dungeon crawl that you could get to the table and within 5 or 10 minutes, just set up and start playing. So you just pick all your decks that you're using in the game, you fold the board out, you just start exploring. We just like to get right into games, so that's kind of what we strive for.
And we wanted to make something that was that wasn't solely reliant on campaign play or like long branching narratives, because this game will have that, but it also really excels at just having a good one-off experience where you just choose whatever combination decks you want and have a really cool adventure, and that's all you have to do.
In our old age, we don't have a lot of time for campaigns.
Yeah.
So we like to, get things done one night if we can. So.
So we try to do the best of both worlds, where we have some campaign and narrative play, but also really good one-off play.
Yeah, and so you've mentioned Hero Quest as the game from back in the day, right?
What makes you say that?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, what does make me say that?
That's a good question.
So Hero Quest was the game that pretty much opened the door to hobby gaming for me and Brady when we were kids. I think Brady got it for Christmas one year, and my mom used to run us through. She played the Zargon player. And killed Brady's elf a lot.
It was great until we had to rescue Sir Ragnar. She didn't kill the elf; she killed Ragnar.
And he cried. He cried about it, and it really affected him. So board games had a really profound influence on us.
If I had a big budget, we would have a reenactment right here. So everybody, just imagine
you can
that
play
just
Mom,
happened.
So we, in our 10 years of designing games, we've always wanted to go back and do like a tribute game to the game that got it all started for us. And we've always wanted to do dungeon crawl board game on a fixed board to prove that you don't need all these modular tiles to have a really modular experience. We played this game like so many times on this board and never get sick of it.
And the system
is always different.
Yeah, and we made sure the system was adaptable, because what we wanted to do was have this be the focus of like quest play. But with one of the expansions we had called Runes of Arkenspire, we added the option to play on a smaller 11 by 11 tile. It's called an encounter. So you could be like in a tavern or at a campsite or something where it's a different encounter, and you have a different way to play the game. Essentially, if you have a shorter time window or just want to show somebody a quick game, you can play an encounter, and the rules all support that as well. So it's not like a bunch of special rules for it. So.
And so, what did you bring from Hero Quest into this? I mean, clearly the board.
Yes, the board is the biggest influence.
Tile.
That's a prototype.
I'll come in on that.
This is a stand-in prototype, but this is from.
We had some artists take the Hero Quest tile, just kind of mock it up to make it look like Hero Quest, but the final one's going to look different. It'll still look like a staircase, obviously. But I wanted to make a game where the dungeon had the 3D feel with all the scenery and stuff like that. But I remember back in the day when I played Hero Quest, a lot of times the furniture and stuff was kind of just aesthetic. It just looked cool. But in this game, every feature in the game has cards assigned to it, and the cards tell you how you can interact with that feature or what effect it has on the game. So these features actually change your strategy, and they kind of define what you can do in that room.
And they also serve as an anchor point. So when you reveal a room, let's say you reveal the room that had the weapon rack, which is right here. So when you reveal that room, it goes in the quest area. So now if anything happens in this room, like let's say for example, there's like effects that happen in this room, there's a quest effect in here, well, you'll know that you can go interact with this token in this room. So it's a good anchor point to see what room is what. And that also helps make it so it's more kind of a sandbox exploration instead of that narrative, a very rigid.
Yeah, there's no fixed map. The players kind of explore the dungeon however they want, and as the order the cards come out kind of defines the dungeon layout.
Yeah, and the other thing that really we wanted to kind of capture with Hero Quest, because
one thing that we never even thought of playing HeroQuest as kids was like the board having any limitations, because to us it didn't have limitations. It was you could put a door here, it's different if the door's there or if this hallway is blocked off. So I liked the iconic nature of this layout where you can do different things on it to make it feel totally different. We wanted to have that kind of feel here where the board feels iconic to you, and all the game sessions you have memories of it by seeing the main setup of the main board. So that was another thing too. It's just that kind of iconic charm where it feels nostalgic, because every time you play it, you'll recognize rooms, but like, oh, this time this room is doing something different. So it's just kind of
the two things we didn't want to bring with it were obviously we wanted a more engaging, deeper play experience,
more strategic choices,
like lots of decisions. Not just rolling to move and see if you can kill this guy with a die roll. HeroQuest was great, but we play it nowadays, and obviously we want more game out of it.
More modern game.
So we wanted to update the game design to be more in our modular deck system line of games, where we have all these decks of cards that do different things and kind of give you a nice, fulfilling experience, but also make it fully cooperative. It's always hard for us when we were kids to find someone who wanted to play the bad guy, who wanted to play the Zargon.
Except for Mom, who just wanted to punish you.
Yeah. So yeah, and I do find that a lot of times the one versus many format on games, it doesn't always create the most fun experience. So I like to either do just straight competitive or cooperative. The one versus many wasn't really
and the move to co-op wasn't only just because we typically gravitate toward co-ops, but it also makes it so the actual character design, the hero design, there's a lot of design space with these decks where heroes can feel iconic and specialized in certain things. But it gives you more strategic options. So on your turn, you'll have these action markers. You get 3 actions on your turn, and you can spend your actions to do various things. You have basic actions you can do, but you also have cards you can play that are specialized actions. So you'll just spend an action and play a card. And that since you have such flexibility on your turns, it gives the player just more sense of heroic power level, instead of just kind of being like in HeroQuest you're a barbarian that throws like 1 die to attack, and it's like, well, I missed. So
the road sword.
Yeah. And my understanding is you are starting at that heroic level because your deck is your deck, and you're not getting new cards as you go on.
Right. When you play campaigns, you'll be able to like upgrade versions of your cards. So, for example, one of Rowan's best cards in my mind is the Laughlin Hot Pouch he makes, which is not the Hot Pocket. Trademarked, it's the Hot Pouch. So he can use this to heal allies. He can give them extra dice. But if you're playing the campaign, he might get better at making these hot pouches. So he'll have a new upgrade card that replaces this one in his deck. So
but it still functions similarly.
Yeah, it's just a better version.
So it's the pepperoni hot pouch, it's just the cheese hot pouch.
Yeah, not just cheese. Yeah, it's the hot magma hot pouch.
So you mentioned that you're the modular decks and the modular boards, and so my first introduction to this was with Street Masters, which my wife is thrilled that I went all in on Aftershock. So talk to me a little bit about the inspiration for Street Masters, because if I'm correct, that was your first modular deck game.
Right.
This one, HeroQuest, is behind it. So what brought Street Masters to you?
So that was one we had kind of a back and forth on, because when we got commissioned to do that, we had all these different like really intricate dice game designs and stuff, because we wanted to like capture all those different like tactical martial arts things you can do. But everything we designed, while it felt innovative and cool, it didn't feel as like fun to play, and we wanted something more like just kind of tapped into what we enjoy. And
it was also coming off of our Walking Dead game, which we used player decks for that game. So it kind of tapped into part of what we wanted to do with decks.
Yeah, one thing Adam hates about my taste is I love decks. I love games where your character is a deck. I have
no problem with that, except for every game we designed.
So is there truly just one thing he hates about how you design it?
Here's one example.
So yeah, we had this tendency where Adam loves miniatures. He's a big hobby gamer. He painted all these miniatures. He's really into the miniature side. I'm really into the cards. I love card games. One of my early favorite card games was Sentinels of the Multiverse, because I loved how you just grabbed a hero deck, shuffled up, and play. My problem was it didn't really scale very well if I wanted to play solo or 2-player, so it didn't have like a good flexibility that we wanted. So there was all these inspirations we had of what we wanted to play, and we wanted to take that idea where you had these decks that were just fixed. There's no deck building, because I was never a big fan of deck construction or deck building, even though I play a lot of LCGs, which is weird. But we always preferred just having a deck of cards that dictates what you do and what options you have. And that kind of evolved into having fixed decks for your fighters, fixed decks for the stages, and fixed decks for the enemies. And it kind of naturally grew from there, and we just combined it with our love of dice that don't fail, because we hate failing dice.
Yeah, can you talk about that for just a second, in case there are 3 people out there that don't know any of your games yet?
Right.
Yeah, tell us about that, because usually you play these dungeon games, there's always a side that's going to get you bupkis.
Right, yes. I think this came from my experience when I was designing the second edition at FFG. I had a lot of free reign to do new things with the game line, but there were certain things that were still dissent, and one of the things that was still dissent was these attack dice that had an X on them, and your attack missed. And man, did I hate that when you're playing a game. You know, you set up this really cool thing, and I missed. There's nothing I can do about it.
Well, you didn't take your sword out.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Fumble.
Cool, go to charge. I drop my sword. So we, when we do dice games, we like to do this particular game has no misses, no blanks. The dice don't fail, so every side is either a success, a critical success, or a resource that you can use for success now or later.
Or one of each.
Yeah, one of each. So focus is a resource in this game, where if I rolled this right here, let's ignore that critical. If I rolled this, that'd be 1 success, and if I had a focus, I could spin that focus to make it as 2 successes. Now, if I didn't have a focus, or I didn't want to spend it, I could just use that to gain a focus and use it for a later roll, so I could do better next time.
And focus is also reserved for other special abilities that might have a resource cost. And focus is typically like the resource you'd spend. And that's most of our games where the dice is more used to give you some sort of resource, and it's about managing those resources and the timing of when you use them.
Yeah,
because in Stream Masters, it's not focus, it's double-sided tokens, which are one side is a defense, either kick, punch, or grapple, the other side's power, and both of those are good because you can block damage, but once you power up from blocking damage, you get all charged up to your special abilities. So it's a cool trade-off of not making progress in the attack, but you're saving up all that energy to unleash a huge attack later. So it's always some sort of progress.
And so,
The other important thing about the dice is the criticals are also successes, but they explode and you roll more dice. And that's
Because
always
dice
fun.
are fun. Yeah, just keep them going.
and so, as of this morning, I believe Alter Quest was at about 360,000 or so.
Yeah.
You want to pull it up live? A live moment, see if there's another stretch goal?
They keep hitting those. They keep backers come to the booth, and I explain the game to them, and I see it. They are. I'm backing right there in my spot. So
Yeah, it was 352 this morning, I thought.
Yeah, it's
so.
354 right now.
354. So,
There you go.
so a pretty big success. I believe it was $50,000 goal to start. Is that
It
right?
was 100,000 goal, but it funded within 2 hours. So that right there was enough to be.
Yeah,
like,
that was
So, and there's about 2 weeks left. Is that right?
Yep. 11 days, I think, for specifically.
yeah, end of June.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So there are 11 days left. If you're watching, get to Kickstarter, check out Alter Quest. There are a ton of stretch goals already unlocked. I imagine they have goals all the way up to 1 million in
We have
mind.
quite a few stretch goals. I think
We like to
I think the
plan
base
ahead.
pledge is up to 155 miniatures, so there's quite a bit of value for your buck there.
And true or not true, you will be painting all the miniatures for one
That's
lucky
true.
backer.
You said that. No,
For
you-
one
all-
lucky backer?
For all the backers. I said
No,
all the backers.
no. I'll say true.
That was the
I'll say
$1
not true.
Not true. So
Some guy came to the booth and said, if you were selling this right now, you're in the bathroom. It's like, if you said this right now, I will give you $1,000 for it.
and you said yes, I
He
hope.
might take you up on that.
Yeah, I hope you said yes. And so the last question, which everyone really wants to know. Do you want to talk any smack about each other?
I want to say that this guy is very handsome. He looks really good. Whoever looks like him is a lucky guy. Do I look like him still? I kind of.
I'm going to go with worst smack ever. Guy, you want to send back?
Careful.
He talks fast.
No.
That's very insulting. I take that.
I was listening to him to explain Brook City. I talk fast, but he explains Brook City. I'm like, dude, slow down. They can't understand you.
And the last thing you just mentioned, Brook City, which we haven't talked about yet. Just real quick for people who don't know, what is Brook City? Because it is actually still available here at Origins.
Yes, there is I think when we left for lunch, there were like 4 copies of the one
Ironically,
left.
this one's gone though.
Yeah, this is what we used to store our miniatures for this game, but because I like those guys.
Yeah, this is the expansion, the Dusky's expansion.
But Brook City was fulfilled to backers recently for Kickstarter, and we're selling what we have left. What we brought to the convention is pretty much gone. There's like a handful of base games left, and I don't know how many
There's
bundles.
3 or 4 left.
There are 4 bundles when we went to lunch, so who knows if they're still left.
Yeah.
But we might have more at Gen Con, hopefully. Online sales maybe, but that's going fast.
And so where people at Origins, where can they find you right now?
We are in booth 1061.
All right, and that's back in the corner for anybody who is...
listed under Albino Dragon. That's what
Yeah, we're sharing a booth.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time. Everybody, get to that Kickstarter, check it out, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.